Hello, my name's Limey Joe and welcome to my beginner's guide of Car Mechanics Simulator 2018. I've started here with the beginner's garage and we're going to look at the toolbox very briefly, which is how you get a bigger garage, how you upgrade your skills. So every time you go up a level you get a point which you can spend in here. Next, what we're going to do is pop over to the phone, which is where you pick up your repair jobs for other people. The repair jobs in blue are the sort of storyline mission repairs, and all the others are just regular repairs. As you can see, it gives you an idea of what the job involves, and also it's worth noting the minimum parts condition, because you can use old parts that you've salvaged off of another car or one of your own jobs in order to repair a car for a customer. First thing we're going to do is come over to the car, make sure you're kind of aimed on the car basically with your cursor, and then right click to bring up the wheel of options. First we're going to look at the car status screen, which gives you an idea of how many parts need repairing. At this point it's telling me what the parts are, but later on you'll see that it doesn't actually tell you what the parts are, you have to figure it out for yourself. Next, I've gone over to the garage door, which allows me to move the car to other areas. So initially you'll have a limited number of areas you can go to. Later on other things will open up, but the most important one really is the test track, which you can use for diagnostics. Later on you'll spend quite a lot of time in the junkyard as well, which is obviously one of my favourite parts of the game. But for now we're going to move the car to the test track. Give it a quick spin around the test track. I'd have to say that the car driving part of this game is not one of its stronger points, but the test track is a dead useful way of identifying certain problems, so it's worth taking your car around the test track to highlight various problems the car might have. Okay, now we've done that. We can right click on the car again and move the car over to the lift, so we can jack it up in the air and take off the wheels and see if we can solve the problem the car's got. Okay, let's left click on the car lift to bring it up, and then you can left click again on the car lift to bring it up further. In order to get the car to go onto the floor, then you have to go from the lower lift position and then you have to hold the left mouse button down. It took me a few minutes to actually figure that out when I first played the game. Now we're going to right click to bring up the options menu again and go into overview. Overview is a very useful way of seeing what's wrong with the car. It gives you an idea of the condition of various parts. You can left click and hold on a particular part, and often it will show you what the condition of that particular part is. But taking the car around the test track will highlight certain parts of the car and the condition of those parts, so it helps you get a head start with regards to seeing where your problems might be. Basically what you're looking for though is any parts that are highlighted in red in the overview. You can also get a pretty good idea of the parts that need replacing by looking in the normal view, and anything that looks a bit rusty. The more rusty it is, the worse condition it is. Once you've identified the parts that need replacing and removed them from the car, then you're going to need to buy some new bits, and in order to do that, you're going to have to go over to the computer. As you can see, there's a whole number of different areas where you can buy bits, but for this job, and most jobs, you're going to use up parts quite a lot. Without doubt, the easiest way I've found of finding a part is to go to the search section and type in what you're after. You could try and narrow it down by the sections, and sometimes that works, but there are quite a lot of parts, so more often than not, typing it in is going to be the easiest method. Once you've got your part, then you take it back to the car, fit it, and check the status menu on the car to make sure that you've got all the parts fixed. Then you can finish the job and get paid.
Look at the beautiful stars. I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break me. No, nothing can break me. drive a faster car.
We'll just take a quick look at a more complex repair job from a bit later on in the game. As you can see in the status screen, it doesn't tell you which parts need replacing, so the diagnostics tools you've got come into play a bit more, like the test path, which you get fairly early on in the game. A tip I have for later on with the more complex jobs is to always replace the rubber bushings you take off with new ones, because they can be difficult to find sometimes, and once you've put the car back together again, if you forget to replace one of the rubber bushings, it can be extremely annoying having to take the car apart again just to try and find out one rubber bushing you've missed.
Can break me, no, nothing can break me. Try not to hold me down, feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at the beautiful stars, I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break.
Lastly, what I'll do is take a quick look at some of the other tools that you get. Firstly, there's the tool for draining the oil out of the car, which is important if you're going to take the oil pan off, because if you take the oil pan off when there's oil in the car, then the oil goes all over the floor, which I think you get fined for, if I remember rightly. So it's a good idea to drain the oil if you're going to have to take the car engine apart. Next is the spring puller, which is for taking apart your car springs, your car suspension springs, and putting them back together again. So it's an easy process. You just put them in there, hit the button to take them apart, and then you can reassemble them with new bits.
Hold me down, feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars, I wanna drive a faster car.
And now we're on to the tyres and the wheels. So you've got the machine for separating the tyres from the wheels and putting tyres onto the rims. And after you've put the tyres onto the wheels, then you have to balance them up. So that's a process you have to go through whenever you change the tyres or the wheels on a car. Last but not least is the repair bench, which is exceptionally useful for repairing stuff, especially later on when you can increase your skill at repairing to make it less likely that you'll damage the item. It's a risk early game because you can potentially break the item completely by trying to repair it, but I would recommend, especially later on once you've improved your skill on it, to use a repair bench. It's extremely useful if you've been around the junkyard and picked up some items which normally would be quite expensive, like gearboxes for example, and then you can take them back to the repair bench and fix them up before using them. So that concludes my beginner's guide for Car Mechanic Simulator. One last tip I would give is that if you want to progress up the levels faster, then your best option is to take simple jobs that you can do quickly rather than more complex jobs. The amount of time you spend on a more complex job is not worth the extra XP. So assuming you don't want to cheat, then I would take the simpler jobs like body repair and exhaust pipes and gearboxes rather than taking the more complex jobs later on to gain levels faster. I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for watching.